Okay, welcome back, Cinnamon and Watermelon Group. We are going to do lesson 78 today. So I want everybody to get ready and touch column 1. Word 1 is Achilles. What word? You'll be reading a story about a person named Achilles. Word 2, what word? Yes, shoulders. Word 3, what word? Yes, permitted. Word 4, what word? Yes, consultant. Word 5, what word? Yes, required. Word 6, what word? Yes, unless. Very good. Column 2, word 1, what word? If you fear something, you are afraid of it. So here's another way of saying he was afraid of the dog. He feared the dog. Your turn. What's another way of saying he was afraid of the dog? Right. What's another way of saying she was afraid of the dark? Good. She feared the dark. Word 2. What word? Yes, cost. Word 3. What word? Yes, magic. Word 4. What word? Yes, cloth. Word 5. What word? Yes, list. Word 6. What word? Yes, unfair. Very good. Touch column 3. Word 1. What word? Yes, weak. Word 2. What word? Yes, weakness. Word 3. What word? Yes, box. Word 4. What word? Yes, boxer. Word 5. What word? Yes, bench. Word 6. What word? Yes, hood. Very good. Be sure to pause the video here and read these words to yourself. They are going to be into the story. Okay, good job with those words. Now we are going to do reading. As you are reading, you are going to pause the video so you can read, and then you're going to press play when you're finished reading for the other half of the video. Start reading. Press pause. Press pause. Press pause. Press pause. Press pause. Press pause. Good job reading. Now go back to the beginning of the story and you're going to follow along with Miss Greta as she reads. Bertha tests the water. Half an hour later, Bertha was seated on a long bench just outside Building 21 of the refinery. She was blindfolded. In fact, she wore 3 blindfolds. Let's stop here. Question time. In the story for today, it's in half an hour later, and we find out that something has happened to Bertha. What has happened? Right, she's been blindfolded. Why was she blindfolded for the test? Right, so she couldn't see the water. Good job. Back to the story. The chief had stuck tape over each eye. He had then wrapped a long cloth around her head. Finally, he had placed a hood over her head. The hood came down to her shoulders. Next to her on the bench were 6 jaws. Each was marked with the letter A, B, C, D, E, and F. Now, question time. 6 jars are labeled A, B, C, D, E, and F. So everybody, if there were 8 jaws, what would jars 7 and 8 be labeled? G and H. Good. Back to the story. The chief said this will be a good test. There is no way that she can see through the blindfolds. Everybody, who is he talking about? Correct, Bertha. Even if she could see, she has no way of knowing where the water in each jar came from. The chief continued, she won't be permitted to touch the jars, so she won't be able to use the water temperature as a clue. The only way that she'll be able to figure out where the water came from is to use her nose. I think this test is unfair, Mr. Daniel said. I'm calling our lawyers right now. Let's stop here and now. Question, do you think the test is unfair? No. Do you think Mr. Daniels really thought it was unfair? No. Why did he say he thought it was unfair? Yes, he just wanted to stall some time. Good job. Back to the story. You call your lawyers, the chief said, but I would like you and your men to watch what happens here. I'm going to write down what Bertha said about each jar. When she's done, I'll read where the water in each jar actually came from. The chief picked up jar A. I'm holding jar A in front of you, the chief said. Let's stop here. Question. Everybody, who is he talking to? Yes, Bertha. Back to the story. Yes, Bertha replied, and that water comes from the creek. You're sure about that? The chief asked. I'm very sure, Bertha replied. The chief wrote jar A, creek. The chief held up the other jars one at a time. He told the letters of the jar. Then Bertha told about the water. Then the chief wrote what she said. Stop there and listen to this question. If Bertha said that the water in jar C came from the well, what would the chief write? Right, jar C, well. Back to the story. After she had smelled 6 jars, the chief told Maria, now give me the first list that tells where you got each jar of water. Question, everybody, did the chief know where each jar of water came from? No. Back to the story. Maria handed the list to the chief. He read the list to himself and smiled. It seems that Bertha made a perfect score on the test. The water in jars A, B, and D came from the creek. The waters in jars C, E, and F came from the well. That is exactly what Bertha said. This doesn't prove anything, Mr. Daniels objected. I think it proves a lot, the chief replied. Bertha showed that she can tell where these jars of water came from. If she is right about these jars, she must be right about the water in the refinery. She says the water in the refinery is from the creek. So that water must be from the creek. The chief said to Mr. Daniels, "You are using water from the creek. That is against the law. I ordered this refinery closed immediately." Everybody, how soon is that? Yes, immediately is right away. Good job. You can't do that, Mr. Daniels shouted. I just did, the chief said. And I mean immediately. Bertha couldn't help but smile. The chief walked up to Bertha, put an arm around her shoulder, and walked toward the van with her. He said we can't use people who don't work for the state unless they are special consultants. Oh, Bertha said sadly. Special consultants must fill out a form and we must pay them. Oh, Bertha said. In fact, we're required to pay special consultants $500 a day. Oh, Bertha said. So you better fill out one of those forms if you want to be a special consultant. You've already worked 2 full days. Bertha didn't want to say, "Oh," again, and she didn't know exactly what to say. So she just looked up at the chief and smiled. She felt that she was smiling too much, but she couldn't seem to stop. Smile, Bertha Turner, smile. The end. What's Bertha's last name? Yes, Turner. Very good, Cinnamon and Watermelon. That concludes lesson 78. See you next time for 79. Happy reading.